Welcome, everybody, to Firehouse Talks with Jersey Rick. I'm Rick, and this is my co host, Emily.
Hi.
Welcome to episode number 37, a commitment of time, the foundation of mentorship. We've talked a lot about personal growth and developing others, and we're going to talk about mentorship, and we're going to talk about the qualities of mentorship. But before we get there, I'm going to explain how this all came about. A couple of years ago, we were in North Carolina down on the beach, and one evening, myself and our other daughter, Rebecca, we decided to take a walk out on the beach. And I turned around and it was sunset. I turned around and our footprints were highlighted in the sun. Mentorship.
Mhm.
And then here last year, Emily and I sat down and we turned that into an ebook
Mhm.
called Dual Footprints, Becoming a World-Class Mentor. And so that's how all of this came about. I'm a big advocate of mentorship. And so, Emily, why don't you tell our listeners what they can look forward to?
Yeah, so today we're talking about what it really means to commit your time to someone else in a mentoring
Mm.
relationship. So I think we can just dive wired and mentorship. And those are time, transparency, ego slaying, listening, growth, and accountability. So one of the quotes that comes for is one of the most important elements of leadership is developing others and encouraging them.
And when Emily said comes from his book, she's referring to
Your
myself,
book.
the author, the author of The Furnace of Leadership Development. So we're talking about time today, and time is the great equalizer. Yeah, we all have some things in common. Death is one of them, and so is time. There's only 24 hours in a day, and it does not matter who it is, me, Emily, you who are listening, the President of the United States. It doesn't matter. We all only have 24 hours of time in a day. And so you often hear about time management. Well, something that I learned from John Maxwell, because I'm also a member of the Maxwell Certified Leadership Team, in one of his mentoring sessions, is that you can't manage time. What we can manage is our priorities.
Yeah.
And so please remember that you can
People use. I'm too busy, or I don't have time. Life is just crazy right now. These are phrases we must eliminate if we are serious about mentoring.
yeah.
So, we want to ask our listeners this question to reflect on as we continue this discussion is what are you currently saying yes to that might be stealing time from what matters most?
Yeah, that's a good question, Emily. And something our listeners need to bear in mind is whatever you're saying yes to, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah.
If you want to grow that, and as my wife often says, and she heard this saying a long time ago, when people come up with excuses, an excuse is the skin of reason stuffed with a lie. Now, if you've followed us here ever since we've started this podcast, you've heard me say that more than one time. But excuses, excuses, excuses. What are you committed to? Absolutely,
Yeah.
what are you committed to? So, what is a mentor? Now, many times the definition of a mentor gets confused with a coach, but dictionary.com defines a mentor as a wise and trusted counselor or teacher
Mm.
versus a coach. And I'm going to talk about what a true sitting down and a sports coach, where you might have in football a kicking coach, or in baseball a pitching coach or a batting coach, that where they are working with those individuals in those particular areas. But so many times people get mentors and coaching confused. And so in the my business, my coaching is different than a baseball coach, because I ask the questions to draw out answers from you. And when I mentor, that is where I am helping you along, and I'm providing answers based off of my experiences. So essentially, what I do when I sit down with someone, I do a combination of mentoring and coaching. For someone who wants to become a battalion chief, yeah, I can ask all the questions in the world, but until I start sharing my experiences, they're they're not going to be able to provide answers, because they haven't been down that path. They haven't experienced that yet. And mentoring is, we can look at it as casual, but it's really not. Is the opportunity to sit down with somebody? Can we do it over a cup of coffee? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But it's more than just a conversation. It is investing time, its guidance, and its accountability in the life of the other person.
Yeah.
And there truly needs to be structure and some regularity that's built into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back to the word commitment, which is required for both the mentor and the mentee. So, commitment is a pledge or promise or an obligation.
Mhm.
Both parties must commit.
Absolutely.
It's not just the mentor's job, it's mutual. Trust and transformation happens only when time is consistently invested in both sides.
Yeah, and Emily, let's stop there for a moment and let's talk about that commitment, because I have committed my time in the past to mentor someone, and I'm thinking of one individual in particular. I met with him, and this was somebody who wanted to be a firefighter in our department. He had moved here from out of state coast. And so he moved out here, and he was working scheduled a time to meet at the coffee shop. I'm there on that day, on that time. He's not,
Hmm.
and he doesn't show up. And 15 minutes into it, I call this guy, and I've got to leave a phone message.
Hmm.
And so, well, I brought work. And so I finished up that work. I'm getting ready to leave the coffee shop. And it was about an hour after we were supposed to meet. He calls me up. Oh, my boss decided to send me up to Estes Park to check with some of our customers. I said, okay. How long did you know about this? Oh, well, I found out about that this morning. And what prevented you from calling me to let me know so that we
Yeah.
could reschedule? I mean, I understand the man's working in a travel up to Estes Park, which is a 45-minute, an hour drive away. But I won't let that happen again. And guess what, Emily?
He didn't show.
Thing.
Wow.
And I called him on the phone. I gave him 15 minutes. I called him on the phone, and he came up with excuses. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm committed to doing this, but you're not. And so we're going to stop this right now. I am
Mhm.
not going to continue to schedule my time with you when you do not have the courtesy to respect my time.
Yeah.
So listen, folks, this goes for both
Hmm.
the person who is doing the mentoring and the person who is the mentee. You make that commitment, and commitment and accountability are two words that are severely lacking in our society
Yeah.
today. Respect each other's times. If you're sick and you can't make it, then call the other person and say, I'm sick and I can't come. If
Hmm.
you're in the fire service, or actually any other job, and you get called in to work, let let them know. Let them know that something has come up. You know, most people are understanding and will say, yeah, okay, I get it. You picked up an overtime
Yeah.
shift and we can't meet today, or I'm sick. We understand that. So when you make this commitment, how often are you going to meet? Do you need a week? Do you need a week? Do you need to meet weekly, or should it be bi-weekly or monthly? My recommendation is bi-weekly, twice a month. Weekly is, I think, is too much. Monthly goes too long. So I think
Yeah.
the really sweet spot is to meet on a bi-weekly basis and then decide how you're going to do it. Now, I'm here in Colorado, and if I'm mentoring somebody in Virginia, we're going to have to do it over the phone or via Zoom. Uh, Neither one of us or the guy in Virginia is not going to fly here, and I'm not going to fly to Virginia to do it in person. However, when someone is local, and when I talk about local, I'm usually referring to like 20, 25 mile radius. I prefer to meet in person because in-person meeting is so much better
Yeah.
than over the phone or on Zoom, because that way you could pick up on the nuances, from the other individual.
And you don't have to worry about technology
Yeah,
issues.
that's right. You don't have to worry about
Freezing
technology
up.
issue. And one last thing in this area is put it in your calendar.
Yeah.
Put it in your calendar and put a reminder in there so you're on time. So what else do we have there for that, Emily?
Yeah, so I think you show up on time, come prepared, and stay present. Canceling last minute is a disrespect to the other
Yeah.
person's schedule unless something last minute does come up and you have no control over that,
Yeah.
which there are definitely times about that.
Yeah.
But a pro tip we want to leave you guys with is build a simple mentorship agreement or rhythm. So an example would be monthly topics, goals, review, prayer time, etc.
Yeah, and I'm going to hit on that topic, and yeah, we put in monthly topics on that, but it could be bi-weekly topics.
Mhm.
You're the person being mentored. Come with questions.
Yeah.
you know, and it should not be an interrogation. Come with questions and to ask the person who is mentoring you. That way you get the most out of that time there. And it's not one of these things where you show up and you sit down, let's say at the coffee shop or someplace else that's private, and I say to you, so hey, how's it going? Well, it's been going pretty good. How about you? Ah, yeah, not too bad. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, Chiefs, I really don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not structure.
Yeah.
You should take that time to bring those questions. What challenges are you facing?
Mhm.
If you're seeking a promotion, like what advice can you give me to prepare for the promotional exam? What should I be looking at, and so forth and so on, like that. So
Yeah.
that really leads into the fact that the reward is in the relationship.
Mhm.
And Emily, you and I have talked about relationships quite a bit. And when there's a relationship that exists between, a lot better.
Yeah.
You start to see the mentee grow. And actually, I've grown myself. When I have mentored somebody, I grow myself from a number of areas, because when I notice somebody's coming with questions and they've given me an overview of, hey, you know, these are challenges in my life that I'd like to talk about, or challenges at work that I would, and that just helps me grow and strengthens me as well. And so, as the mentor, you not only see them grow, but you can see them achieve their goals, and you can help them. You could get satisfaction by helping them through some very difficult times,
Yeah.
and bonds can be formed, over the years. And I've mentioned in previous episodes, Dick Miner, a fire chief here at Loveland Fire Rescue. And I counted Chief Miner as a mentor of of mine. And once he left the organization and retired, he went up to Platte River Power Authority as the fire chief there. And that mentoring relationship continued with him. And even after he decided to retire from there, that side of being mentored. But I have mentored a number of people, and one that comes to mind is in that I started to mentor him when I was still on the job before I retired, and then we continued that mentoring relationship afterwards. And he was interested in pursuing a promotion to engineer, and I worked with him and mentored him. And
That if you've been mentored, thank them, whoever has mentored you and invested in your life. And if you're mentoring someone right now, like keep showing up, like you are making a difference in their lives. I know I have a mentor and she's made a huge difference in my life. And I think too, just having that third party perspective, who's someone who's not in it with you, but they're seeing it differently, can really add a lot of value and good
yeah,
perspective as well and help you take the focus off of when it's like so close to you, like you can't see past it.
yeah,
They can see past it. They can ask those questions and really get you thinking and really just encourage you in that season of life that you're in.
yeah. And Emily, to build on that point, we can have mentors inside the organization, and you can have mentors outside the organization. And you really should have both. And I'm going to specifically address the fire service because it's rank structured. It's paramilitary. It is paramilitary, folks. And I over the last 6 months, I've heard a couple of people say, "No, we're not really paramilitary." Well, it is because there's a rank structure that's in there, and there's a chain of command that needs to be followed. And so you got a rookie firefighter who's coming out of the academy, and they're going to be on probation, mentored by the company officer and by the engineer or the driver operator because they're more senior, they're seasoned, they've been down the road, and they can mentor them. However, you ought to be mentored from a different perspective from somebody outside the organization. For those of you in the fire service or even law enforcement, military, those type of structures, and it does apply to other professions as well. But there are things you're going to be dealing with as you move up through ranks that you need to be very careful of how you ask those questions of your
Mhm.
boss and how you go to them. Because I've had people come back to me and say, "Yeah, I took such and such an issue to my boss and hoping to get mentoring and a wild job." And so you got to watch out for people like that will ambush you. And I've had it happen, folks. I've had it happen. Now, and so be very careful, from that mentoring aspect. Those larger personnel issues, things that you're not quite sure how to deal with, especially if it is related to your boss. Yeah, if you got an issue with your boss, you should be able to sit down and talk to him or her about it. But getting advice on how to do it, you're probably better off by seeking out a trusted mentor from outside the organization. That way, you know for sure that there's confidentiality there and that it's not going to be turned around against you.
Yeah.
And so that is a challenge that the mentor can face along with the mentee. Now we've been talking about time here. Both parties need to ask, can I really commit the time to someone else right now? How
Mhm.
many people can you effectively mentor?
Yeah.
What is your time schedule? Excuse me. And there are some people that just want to take on, take on, take on, take on, and you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to cheat the mentee out of what they actually deserve. And also, from the standpoint of being a mentor to someone, look around. Who is it that you might be able to mentor? Someone that's around you. Might be somebody else that you know from a different organization. Hey, in church, my wife and I, we are in charge of the singles group. And there's I'd say medium age, would you say, Emily, about 29? Yeah,
Yeah,
about 29.
20s, early 30s.
Yeah, yeah, late 20s and the
Mhm.
early 30s. And I look around and look at the men that are in there. And it's like, which ones are open to mentoring? Which ones can
Mhm.
I reach out? Pardon me. Which ones can I reach out to and that I can mentor them?
Yeah.
And I know Deb does the same thing with the ladies.
Yeah. So the same challenge for the potential mentees is, are you willing to carve out time as well and show up consistently?
Yeah. Now you might say, man alive, how much are you two going to hit this? Well, why do you think we're hitting it so hard? It's because
People don't show up.
people don't show up.
Yeah.
That's why we are reinforcing this thing over and over and over
Yep.
again.
Yep. You can never mention it too much.
Yeah.
So the first step is schedule the first meeting and then set a recurring time and protect that time.
Oh yeah, protect the time. And also related to protect the time. And over the years when you work in a fire department, as long as I did, you got to know a lot of people in the community. And I live in the city that I worked in. And then when I retired from the fire department and started the business, I'd done networking. I'm that I face sometimes. I go to the coffee shop with the intent of work or maybe even meeting somebody, and inevitably somebody's already there or somebody comes in that I know.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it can get very easy to get distracted. So if you could find some place that, you're relatively certain that you aren't going to get distracted, that's great. We've had a new
Yeah.
coffee shop open up not too far from our house, and Emily and I like to go over there. And I've met several guys over there as well. I'm chuckling, and
Yeah.
Emily's laughing too, is because it's become a popular coffee house, I mean, up
It's true.
in there.
Yeah.
And not everybody is always respectful of the time when you're meeting somebody. Emily and I experienced this here. Oh, back, I think it was beginning of April.
Hmm.
And we went to this particular coffee shop and was coming in. Yeah, I saw somebody that I knew coming in, and they came over and sat down, which was fine,
But didn't leave.
but didn't leave.
So he left.
Yeah, and then we were running out of
Yeah.
time, and so we had to leave. So hey, listen, if you are that person that comes into the coffee shop or a Panera Bread, someplace like that, and you see someone and they're meeting with another person, it's fine to say hello, respectful that when it's us and we see somebody coming in, we need to have wisdom. If we've got a scheduled appointment or something. Now, Emily and I, we were there for um, a date, a daddy-daughter
Connecting.
date. Yeah, connecting. But
But still.
yeah, but still. But what I'm saying is if you're there with an appointment time and meeting somebody and someone comes over and talk, you may just need to politely have to say, it's like, hey, it's great seeing you. But we're in the middle of a mentoring session here.
Hmm.
Yeah. And gracefully bow out from that. And also, don't forget to schedule the next meeting. It might be something you might have a job that where you can consistently meet on the same day at the same time every week. Now, that doesn't happen in the fire service because of the shift work.
Hmm.
Absolutely doesn't happen. I might meet with somebody tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock after they're coming off a shift, and then 2 weeks from now, I may not be able to meet with them until Friday morning at 10 a.m. So be cognizant of that, but get it on the calendar. I have seen so many times, and I know you have too, Emily, say, okay, let's do this again. Yeah, we need to do it again.
4 months
And yeah,
later.
4 months later. Yeah, don't let
Yeah.
that time go through. And then also when we're talking about mentoring relationship, I think it helps to say, all right, let's start this thing out. Let's see how it goes. And it may come to an end in 30 days. I've been doing it now for several years. We're talking about mentoring, the dual footprint. And following episodes, we're going to be talking about the commitment to transparency, a commitment to ego slaying, a commitment to listening, a commitment to growth, and a commitment to accountability.
Mm.
So remember that image that I painted, Rebecca and I walking along the beach there in North Carolina at sunset. And when I turned around and I saw both of our footprints in the wet sand, and I took that picture, and that's where dual footprints came from.
Yeah. So we want to leave you guys, ask you who has mentored you and left an impact in your life, or who are you mentoring? And we'd love to hear the different stories. So feel free to share your journey with us. Either reach out to us on social media or by email. And I believe that is in the description box
Yeah,
below.
it
Right?
is. It is in the show notes. So, folks, that's it for episode number 37, A Commitment of Time, the foundation of mentorship. If you have found this episode to be useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Also in the show notes is my website, fireofficerleadershipacademy.com. The link is in there. You can learn more about the services I have to offer. And also my email is in there. And as Emily said, we would love to hear from you. And I am on LinkedIn. You can find me under Rick Davis. And on top of that, I write a weekly blog that you will find posted on LinkedIn on Wednesdays, and it gets posted on my website on Monday mornings. Please tune in to our episode here, Firehouse Talks with Jersey Rick, Igniting Leadership Excellence. Thank you for listening, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.